The holographic display aboard the orbital defense station Artemis flickered with countless green dots, each representing a piece of Earth's defensive network. Lieutenant Naomi Winters studied the projection, her dark eyes reflecting the soft glow of 10,000 satellites, defense platforms, and automated sentries that formed humanity's first line of defense. "Your species continues to perplex me, Lieutenant," came the melodious voice of ZYX-Thor, her Centaurian liaison. The tall, crystalline being shifted its prismatic form, creating a cascade of rainbow refractions across the command center's walls. "You fortify your world as if expecting the galaxy to wage war against you, yet you welcome alien diplomats with open arms." Naomi smiled, remembering her first meeting with the crystalline entity 3 years ago. "That's because we learned long ago that the best defense isn't just about weapons, ZYX. It's about understanding potential threats while remaining open to potential friends." The defense grid continued its silent vigil, a testament to humanity's paranoia, or perhaps wisdom. Earth had changed dramatically since first contact 50 years ago. The revelation that humanity wasn't alone in the universe had triggered the greatest unified effort in human history, the creation of the Aegis Protocol. "Speaking of understanding threats," Naomi said, zooming in on an anomalous reading in Sector 7, "what do you make of this?" The hologram highlighted a subtle distortion in the quantum detection field, barely noticeable among the standard background radiation. ZYX-Thor's crystalline structure darkened slightly, their equivalent of a frown. "That pattern, it resembles Crevalian probe signatures. But they wouldn't dare violate the non-aggression pact." "The Crevalians." Naomi pulled up the classified files on the warrior species. Unlike the peaceful Centaurians, the Crevalians were conquerors, believing that only through combat could a species prove its worth to exist. They had conquered 17 worlds in the past century, but had given Earth a wide berth after initial scans of the planet. "They've been quiet lately," Naomi mused, "too quiet." She initiated a deep scan of the sector, revealing 3 more subtle distortions. "Look at the pattern. They're testing our detection capabilities." ZYX-Thor's structure pulsed with concern. "The Crevalian Empire has never failed in a conquest once they set their sights on a world. But surely they understand that Earth is different. Your planet's gravity alone would crush their warrior elite. The atmospheric pressure would rupture their combat suits." "That's exactly why they're interested," Naomi replied, initiating a priority alert to Earth Defense Command. "We're an anomaly. A death world, by their standards, yet we thrive here. It challenges their entire philosophy of superiority." The command center's atmosphere grew tense as more anomalies appeared on the display. Dozens, then hundreds of quantum distortions, all carefully probing Earth's defenses. Each one testing, measuring, searching for weaknesses. "They don't understand," ZYX-Thor whispered, their crystalline form resonating with anxiety. "Your species, you didn't just survive on a death world. You were forged by it." Naomi activated the station's quantum encryption protocols, preparing for what she knew was coming. "That's right. And they're about to learn why every other species in the galaxy treats Earth with respect rather than conquest in mind." The first alarm sounded, a deep, resonating tone that hadn't been heard outside of drills. Across the planet, defense platforms powered up their quantum arrays. In underground bunkers, automated drone swarms awakened. And in every military installation worldwide, humans began doing what they did best, preparing for the impossible. "Lieutenant," a junior officer called out, his voice steady despite the situation, "we're detecting massive quantum disturbances in the Kuiper belt. Energy signatures match Crevalian war fleets." Naomi straightened her uniform, a calm settling over her like a well-worn armor. "ZYX, you might want to contact your government. Tell them Earth is about to remind the galaxy why we've survived everything our world has thrown at us for millions of years." The holographic display erupted with new contacts, thousands of them. The Crevalian war fleet was dropping out of quantum space, their massive ships darkening the stars. But as Naomi watched their formation, she couldn't help but smile. They were arranging themselves in traditional Crevalian battle lines, preparing for a conventional space battle. They had no idea that Earth's defense grid was anything but conventional. They were about to learn why humanity's seemingly paranoid preparation, our ability to adapt, and our experience surviving on a world that should have killed us eons ago made us the most dangerous species in known space. All stations, Naomi's voice carried across the global defense network, initiate Aegis protocol. Let's show them why they should have stayed home. The game was about to begin, and Earth had been practicing for this moment since the first human looked up at the stars and wondered what threats might lie in the darkness between them. The Crevalians were about to learn that invading Earth wasn't just ambitious, it was suicidal. The Crevalian fleet emerged from quantum space like a metal storm, their biomechanical ships gleaming under Earth's distant sun. Commander Vrax stood on the bridge of the Dominion's fist, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he observed the blue planet through enhanced imaging. Primitive defenses, he growled, noting the orbital platforms. They cluster their satellites like frightened prey. His subordinates, each chosen from the warrior elite, nodded in agreement. None of them recognized that the seemingly chaotic arrangement of Earth's defensive grid followed patterns millions of years old, the same patterns that colonial insects on Earth used to protect their nests. My lord, his second-in-command, Kextar, approached with a data slate. Our initial scans show unusual readings from their defensive platforms. They appear to be evolving. Before Vrax could respond, the first wave of Earth's defense grid sprang to life. What the Crevalians had dismissed as simple satellites suddenly began moving in ways that defied their understanding of physics. The platform split apart, revealing cores of pure energy, and started weaving an intricate web of quantum-entangled particles. Impossible, Vrax whispered, watching as his fleet's quantum communications went dark. The humans had somehow created a localized field that prevented quantum entanglement, the very technology that held Crevalian ships together. Back on Artemis Station, Naomi watched the first phase of Earth's defense grid deploy with satisfaction. Quantum isolation field holding steady, she reported. Their fleet's neural network is fragmenting. Xthor's crystalline form sparkled with amazement. You've weaponized quantum disruption. But the energy requirements are met by harvesting background vacuum energy, Naomi explained. Something we learned from studying Earth's deep-sea thermal vents. Nature's been doing quantum manipulation for billions of years. We just had to learn to speak its language. The Crevalian fleet's formation began to buckle as their ships lost their quantum-linked coordination. But Vrax wasn't considered the Empire's finest commander for nothing. Launch the bioform missiles, he roared. Let's see how they handle our evolved weapons. Thousands of missiles erupted from the Crevalian ships, each containing genetically engineered organisms designed to devour metal and electronics. It was a weapon that had brought 17 civilizations to their knees. Naomi merely pressed a button on her console. Initiating Protocol Darwin. The space between Earth and the incoming missiles suddenly lit up with auroral patterns. Streams of charged particles, guided by Earth's magnetic field, began interacting with the biological weapons. The bioforms within the missiles started experiencing millions of years of evolution within seconds. You see, Naomi explained to a stunned Xthor, living on Earth taught us something crucial about biological weapons. Life adapts. And we've learned to accelerate that adaptation. The bioform missiles reached their targets, but instead of devouring Earth's defenses, they turned on their Crevalian creators, drawn to the higher energy signatures of their ships. Vrax watched in horror as his own weapons began eating through his fleet's hull. This is impossible. No species can control evolution itself. Sir, Kextar's voice shook, we're detecting energy buildups in Earth's oceans. The entire planet, it's acting like one massive weapon. Humanity's greatest defense system was revealing itself. The oceans themselves began to glow as billions of bioluminescent organisms, genetically modified to respond to planetary defense commands, created patterns that disrupted Crevalian targeting systems. The very bacteria in Earth's atmosphere formed electromagnetic fields that played havoc with their sensors. You still don't understand, do you? Naomi's voice transmitted across all frequencies, reaching every Crevalian ship. Earth isn't just our home. It's our teacher. Every parasitic wasp, every deep-sea creature, every microscopic tardigrade taught us something about survival. We didn't build a defense system, we became part of one that's been evolving for 4 billion years. The Crevalian fleet's formation completely collapsed as their ships began turning on each other, their quantum-linked neural networks corrupted by Earth's defense grid. Vrax watched his mighty armada dissolve into chaos, finally understanding why Earth had been given such a wide berth by other spacefaring races. We are not like the other worlds you've conquered, Naomi continued, her voice carrying the weight of Earth's entire history. We don't just adapt to survive, we thrive on adversity. Every disaster, every extinction event, every challenge made us stronger. And now you're learning why the rest of the galaxy calls Earth the Crucible. The Crevalian commander stared at the blue planet, finally seeing it for what it truly was, not a prize to be conquered, but a force of nature that had shaped its inhabitants into something beyond his comprehension. As his flagship systems began to fail, Vrax realized he had made the same mistake as countless others throughout Earth's history. He had assumed that because humans had mastered their world, they had tamed it. The truth was far more terrifying, they had become one with it. The holographic tactical display aboard Artemis Station painted a clear picture. The Crevalian fleet was in disarray, but still dangerous, like a wounded predator backed into a corner. Naomi knew that humanity's greatest test wasn't in defending Earth, but in what came next. Lieutenant Winters, General Takeda's hologram materialized in the command center, his weathered face bearing the calm of someone who had prepared for this moment their entire life. The Security Council has authorized Operation Thunderbolt. You have tactical command. Zwaxthor's crystalline form vibrated with anticipation. You're not just going to let them retreat. No, Naomi replied, entering command codes into her console. Humanity learned long ago that sometimes the best defense is a decisive offense. All ships, this is Lieutenant Winters. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive hangar doors slowly opened. From the Atlantic, similar facilities activated. Across Earth's oceans, humanity's hidden fleet emerged from its watery cradle. But these weren't traditional spacecraft, they were something uniquely human. The ships rose from the waves, water cascading from their biomechanical hulls. Each vessel was a testament to humanity's ability to learn from nature. Their designs incorporated principles from deep-sea creatures, their hulls hosted symbiotic organisms that could repair damage, and their weapons were based on the most efficient killing mechanisms Earth had evolved over millions of years. By the first light, Zwaxthor whispered, watching the fleet take formation. You hid these in your oceans. Where else would we keep them? Naomi smiled. Earth's oceans taught us everything we needed to know about surviving in hostile environments. These ships don't just operate in space, they can fight in any environment, just like we can. Aboard the Dominion's Fist, Commander Vrax watched in horror as Earth's true military might revealed itself. Those aren't ships, he muttered, they're apex predators. The human fleet moved with the coordinated grace of a shark pack, their formations flowing like ocean currents. Leading them was the HSS Leviathan, humanity's first true deep space dreadnought, its hull incorporating patterns learned from the most successful predators in Earth's history. All ships, execute attack pattern Megalodon, Naomi commanded. The name wasn't chosen for dramatic effect, the attack pattern actually mimicked how prehistoric sharks had hunted in groups, a strategy proven effective over millions of years. The human fleet split into hunting packs, each group targeting specific sections of the Crevalian armada. But instead of relying solely on traditional weapons, they deployed something far more terrifying, environmental warfare. Release the infiltrators, Naomi ordered. From each human ship, swarms of microscopic robots were deployed, each one designed based on Earth's most successful parasites. These nanites didn't just attack the Crevalian ships, they began changing their environment, just as life on Earth had constantly reshaped its surroundings. This is impossible, Vrax watched as his ship's internal environment began to change. The temperature shifted, the artificial atmosphere started transforming, and even the metal walls seemed to be evolving. What kind of weapons are these? Not weapons, Naomi's voice came through on all frequencies again. Tools. Just like every organism on Earth, we learn to use what we have to reshape our environment. Your ships are now experiencing several million years of environmental pressure, compressed into minutes. The Crevalian fleet's biological components, the living ships they were so proud of, began to turn against them, adapted by the human nanites to serve a new purpose. Ships started moving of their own accord, their organic components responding to commands from Earth's fleet. You see, Commander Vrax, Naomi continued, you made a fundamental mistake in understanding humanity. You thought we survived Earth's challenges through strength alone. The truth is, we survived by learning to make every environment our own. The Leviathan approached the Dominion's fist, its massive form casting a shadow over the Crevalian flagship. Its hull rippled like the skin of a giant squid, changing color and pattern to disrupt any attempt at targeting. This wasn't just technology, it was technology that had learned from life itself. Your empire prides itself on biological warfare, Naomi's voice carried a hint of irony. But you never understood what that truly means. We've had 4 billion years of biological warfare on Earth. Every plant, every animal, every microbe taught us something about survival. And now, you're learning why Earth's biosphere is considered the greatest weapons laboratory in known space. The human counteroffensive wasn't just about destroying the Crevalian fleet, it was about sending a message to the galaxy. Earth wasn't just defended by weapons and shields, it was protected by the accumulated knowledge of millions of years of evolution, adapted and weaponized by the only species that had learned to understand and control it. As the Crevalian ships either surrendered or succumbed to their rapidly changing environments, Naomi turned to Zyxthor. Tell your people what you've seen here today. Let them know that Earth doesn't just train warriors, it creates them through the most rigorous testing ground in the galaxy. The crystalline beings form pulsed with understanding. You don't just live on a death world, they realized. You've made its principles part of who you are. Exactly, Naomi nodded, watching as the last Crevalian ships signaled their surrender. Earth didn't just make us strong, it made us adaptable. And that's why we'll never be conquered. The aftermath of the Crevalian defeat rippled through the galaxy like a quantum shockwave. Within days, the Galactic Council chamber on Proxima Station was filled with representatives from 30 different spacefaring civilizations. Naomi stood at the podium, her dress uniform bearing the new insignia of Earth's combined defense force. High above, the captured Crevalian flagship Dominion's fist hung in orbit, its once proud hull now a living testament to human ingenuity. The ship had been completely transformed by Earth's environmental warfare, its systems now a hybrid of human and Crevalian technology, adapted to serve as an embassy for the emerging alliance. The events at Earth were not just a military victory, Naomi addressed the assembled delegates, her voice carrying across the chamber. They were a demonstration of a fundamental truth: survival requires adaptation, and adaptation requires understanding. In the audience, former Commander Vrax sat with a small delegation of Crevalian separatists who had seen the truth behind humanity's power. His scales had changed color, a physical manifestation of the environmental changes his body had undergone during the battle. But instead of weakness, he now displayed a different kind of strength. For too long, the Crevalian Empire believed that strength came from domination. Vrax spoke up, his voice carrying the weight of revelation. We were wrong. The humans showed us that true strength comes from synthesis, from learning to work with the forces that shape us, not against them. The chamber erupted in discussion as holographic displays showed the transformation of the captured Crevalian vessels. Where once there were weapons of conquest, now there were living laboratories, each ship becoming a unique ecosystem adapted from Earth's billions of years of evolutionary experience. We propose a new kind of alliance, Naomi continued, nodding to Zyxtor, who projected a complex molecular structure into the center of the chamber. This is the key to our success, a genetic framework that allows for controlled adaptation. We call it the Darwin Protocol. The molecular structure rotated, showing how Earth's defense systems had learned to guide evolution itself. But it wasn't just a weapon, it was a tool for transformation, for healing, for growth. Already, we've seen the potential, she gestured to a group of Meridian delegates, their previously toxic atmosphere-dependent bodies now adapted to breathe in multiple environments. 3 of your species have volunteered for controlled environmental adaptation. The results speak for themselves. The Meridians stood, their new forms a beautiful fusion of their original biology and Earth-inspired adaptations. Where once they could only survive in methane atmospheres, they now moved freely through the oxygen-rich chamber. But this is about more than biological adaptation, Naomi emphasized. Earth has taught us that true survival requires cooperation. Every ecosystem, every food web, every symbiotic relationship shows us that diversity creates strength. In orbit, the transformed Crevalian ships began demonstrating their new capabilities. Their hulls shifted color like cuttlefish skin, their weapons had been repurposed into terraforming tools, and their quantum networks now linked them in cooperation rather than conquest. The Crevalian Empire saw Earth as a death world, Vrax added, standing to join Naomi at the podium. We were wrong. It is a life world, one that has perfected the art of adaptation through adversity. And now, we have the opportunity to learn from it. The chamber's attention turned to a massive hologram showing Earth's oceans, where the human fleet was undergoing its own evolution. Ships merged with the environment, learned from it, became part of it. This wasn't just technology, it was a new form of life, guided by human intelligence but shaped by Earth's ancient wisdom. We stand at a crossroads, Naomi declared. We can continue to see our differences as barriers, or we can recognize them as opportunities for growth. Earth's history shows us that the greatest innovations often come from the most unlikely combinations. The Galactic Council chamber hummed with energy as species that had once viewed each other with suspicion began to see new possibilities. The Meridians and Centaurians, the Crevalian separatists and the quantum beings of the Helios cluster, all of them recognizing that humanity's greatest gift wasn't their military might, but their understanding of adaptation itself. The alliance we propose isn't built on fear or domination, Naomi concluded, her words reaching every corner of the chamber. It's built on the principle that has guided life on Earth since the first cell divided: adapt, cooperate, evolve. Together, we can become something greater than the sum of our parts. As the council chamber erupted in unanimous approval, Zyxtor's crystalline form resonated with a new frequency, one that matched the quantum signature of Earth's transformed fleet. The alliance wasn't just political, it was evolutionary, marking the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. 5 years after the failed Crevalian invasion, Earth had become the center of the greatest transformation in galactic history. The orbital rings around the planet now hosted representatives from hundreds of species, each drawn to humanity's unique understanding of adaptation and survival. From her office in the newly constructed Terrestrial Evolution Center, Naomi watched as a Crevalian medical ship, its hull now a living membrane of adapted Earth coral, docked with an orbital platform. The ship carried refugees from a dying star system, not to evacuate them, but to help them adapt to their changing world. The latest results from Project Genesis are in, Zyxtor announced, their crystalline form now permanently altered by controlled exposure to Earth's evolutionary principles. They could now grow and heal like organic life while retaining their silicon-based consciousness. The terraforming of Mars has reached Phase 3. The red planet was visible from Naomi's window, its surface now streaked with blues and greens. Engineered organisms, based on Earth's most resilient life forms, were transforming the dead world into a living laboratory of controlled evolution. Sometimes I wonder what the Crevalian Empire would think if they could see us now, Naomi mused, bringing up a holographic display of active projects across the galaxy. They wanted to conquer us because they thought we were weak for adapting to our environment. And now their former worlds lead the galaxy in environmental engineering, Zyxthor added with a shimmer of amusement. The irony would not be lost on them. The display showed dozens of worlds undergoing controlled transformation. Desert planets were developing Earth-inspired water cycles. Toxic atmospheres were being cleaned by engineered bacteria. Dead worlds were coming alive with carefully guided evolution. But the greatest change wasn't in the worlds themselves, it was in their inhabitants. Species that had once been locked into rigid environmental requirements were learning to adapt, guided by the principles that had shaped life on Earth. The galaxy was becoming more diverse, more resilient, more alive. Incoming transmission from the Leviathan, announced the quantum-linked AI that helped manage the center. The massive ship, now more ecosystem than vessel, had been exploring the galaxy's most challenging environments, learning from them just as humanity had learned from Earth. The holographic display shifted to show Captain Vrax, his scaled form now a beautiful hybrid of Crevalian strength and Earth-inspired adaptability. Lieutenant Winters, he greeted, his eyes showing the wisdom that came from embracing change rather than fighting it. We've made contact with the Outer Rim colonies. They're ready to begin their adaptation protocols. These were the colonies that had been abandoned by the old Crevalian Empire, left to die on failing worlds. Now they were about to become part of the greatest experiment in guided evolution the galaxy had ever seen. The Council has approved the establishment of 3 new evolution centers, Naomi reported. One in the Centauri system, one in former Crevalian space, and one in the Helios cluster. Each will specialize in different aspects of adaptation. And all of them based on Earth principles, Zyxthor noted. Their form projected patterns that matched the quantum signatures of Earth's defense grid, a sign of how deeply they had integrated human understanding of natural systems. The meeting was interrupted by a sudden alert. A new signal had been detected from deep space, far beyond known territory. But unlike 5 years ago, there was no fear in the response. Earth's influence had created something far more powerful than any defensive system, a civilization that could adapt to any challenge. Unknown contact, Naomi addressed the signal directly, this is Earth control. We represent the adaptive alliance of known space. Welcome to a galaxy that learns, grows, and evolves together. As she spoke those words, the transformed Crevalian ships moved into formation around Earth, not as a defense fleet, but as a demonstration of what was possible when strength was measured not by the ability to destroy, but by the capacity to adapt and improve. The signal resolved into a first contact message from a new civilization, one that had detected the changes spreading through the galaxy and wanted to understand. They would find not conquerors or victims, but teachers who had learned their lessons from the most unforgiving classroom in known space, Earth. You know, Naomi said to Zyxthor as they prepared to welcome the newcomers, the Crevalians were right about one thing. Earth is the most dangerous planet in known space, not because it kills, but because it teaches. And now the whole galaxy is becoming our classroom. Above them, the quantum defense grid pulsed with patterns that matched the rhythms of Earth's oceans, its forests, its very life, a reminder that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't surviving their harsh world, but learning to understand it. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what made humanity's influence so powerful. They had not just survived on a death world, they had learned to make every world a life world. And that was a force more powerful than any weapon ever created.